Antarctica, public photos thanks to the Russians from Russia. But let me just show you first what kind of Antarctica we're speaking about, because Antarctica as a continent does not exist, because the globe, Earth, does not exist. So we have to go to Vibes of Cosmos, the map, which I'm going to show you right now, just before we move on, because the moon shows the map of the Earth, the world map, and Antarctica as a continent does not exist, because we have the Antarctica Treaty, as you know, and the Russians, that the pictures I'm going to show you, are here. So this is Russia here, Russia with Siberia all the way to the coast, Lemuria, which we don't know if it's underwater or not, and then this is the place of New Zealand, and was it like south? Yeah, it was south from New Zealand, yeah. So south from New Zealand, and this is the place where these pictures were taken, at Vostok Station. So the Antarctica that the Russians are showing us is this island here. This island here, probably the coastline here with the Vostok Station, which is also near the Mimi Station and the Soyuz Station. So the pictures are taken here. Okay, here on this island, which is at the edges of the Antarctica Treaty, before you actually exit the Antarctica Treaty and you move along to the area of Mercury. But that's why it's so cold here, because the sun only reaches so far. Sorry, and that's why you have ice and cold and the stations. So I just want to show you the quality of these photos. The icebreaker, so a photo from the icebreaker here in the ship breaking the ice. Look at the size of that ice above the water. That's why you just go there and you can just like move along. The cargos, these are like the type of machines you need to use for that type of snow and ice, and the cargos that they used to take to the Vostok Station, which is a station that the Russians have in Antarctica, which you're going to see right now. So I just want to show you the equipment of the Russians, which is public information, and the vast desert of ice and snow, which you would be totally dead. Again, I'm not sure if all of the islands, which are at the edge of the 76th parallel in this case, but beyond the 60th parallel, if all the places are like this, or if there are other places which have like better weather and sun and conditions of living. So this is the type of life that you have there on that island, specifically with the Vostok Station. Cargos, one of the guys from the Russian expedition, and again, massive, awesome stuff. So flat, everything is just flat. And you can see, just as we see in the deserts with sand and rock and like the Sahara and stuff, or in South America or like in Asia, this is a desert of snow and ice, with the Russians exploring in the middle of nowhere on that island at the edges of the Antarctica Treaty. One of the big, huge icebreakers that breaks the ice, and thanks to this, you can actually, the ship can go inside of the frozen areas of water. And of course with cargo, transporting materials and everything else. So yeah, look at this, awesome stuff. This was in 2021, how the icebreaker breaks the ice and moves along. Imagine like the type of like material this needs to have, like, so that the ship doesn't sink. And of course you have like for the choppers as well. And yeah, it's fascinating when you see how all this has happened and is happening. The penguins there on those islands, what we call Antarctica, and the ship is just moving along, breaking the ice. Look at the depth and the width of this ice. So the icebreaker, of course, breaks it, but if it's like a normal human being like you and me, I mean, we can easily walk on this. So all this is water, okay? Water, which is frozen, and the thickness of the ice, you can just walk on it, no problem. And again, if there was no ship here, you would say, oh, it's just frozen land. No, actually, this is the frozen land here, and this is all water with a thick layer of ice. Of course, there's other places where the ice is not so thick, like here, and then if you would walk, you would drown, and that's it. There's another ship here, so we have, in total, we have 2 ships here with the expeditions coming from the ship, and of course, we another 2 more ships here at the very end. Fascinating, isn't it, right? And all this is not even... It's just like a tiny portion of what's happening in Antarctica, because as you know, the Antarctica continent does not exist. Everybody knows that. The Antarctica is what Vibes of Cosmos is showing us, and thanks to the moon, because the moon is always on the sky showing us the world. So you get off the ship and you start exploring the areas. You unload the equipment and you unload. But that's awesome, because the ship is still on water, you see. This is the awesome thing about this. So the ship is still floating on water, but the rest of the areas surrounding it are so frozen that you can actually go with the vehicles on the frozen surface of the water. And then you establish your cargoes and everything. You see the sun there in the horizon. Everything is so flat. and you then take your cargo to the Vostok station, in this case the Vostok station with the Russian flag, and that's it. There's the Vostok station. That's the Vostok station. And look at the size of that thing. And there's no clouds. Like, check this out. No clouds whatsoever. And then, yeah, Vostok station. These are the letters in the Cyrillic alphabet, which is the alphabet of the languages like Russian and Bulgarian and Ukrainian and all the languages that they speak that have the Cyrillic alphabet. And, taking the cargo to the Vostok station so that life is possible there. This is the perimeter of the Vostok station. It's not even that big if you come to the conclusion of it. But imagine waking up there and just knowing that, sure, it's like mighty, amazing, and like even mythical and legendary. But at the end of the day, if you look at things properly scientifically, this is a geographical place on an island at the edges of the Antarctica Treaty where the sun has... So the sun is still there, active. But the power of the sun, which is electromagnetic, is so weak that the temperatures are very low. Because the sun is electromagnetic in nature. So that's why you're at the edges where the sun doesn't reach anymore. The sun moves in an analemma, we can still see it on the sky, but the force of the electromagnetism doesn't reach that far in the sense of allowing for life to be possible in a good way. And that's why, because of the wavelength, right? And then, of course, if you exit, you can see we are at the limits of the 78 degrees parallel, where we still have the sun, but it's so cold we have to keep on going until we get to the area of Mercury, which acts like the sun, and that area allows for proper life, as we've seen in one of the pages of the books of Vibes of Cosmos. But again, and this is President Putin with Lukashenko from Russia and Belarus in the joint effort, and they explain everything, and everything is public for the Russian citizens and the Belarusian citizens to know about this, and of course for us. And this is a picture from above to see the whole area, just a desert of ice. And that's the thing. So like I said, yeah, it looks like mythical and legendary, and people want to make of this as being something so mysterious, but at the end of the day, everything is geography, geopolitics and geography. And geography in the sense that from Russia in a straight line, if you would be allowed to go as a civilian, you just get to these islands which are like south of New Zealand. Well, not south, well, south for our perspective. Well, if you see it from the perspective of like south in a straight line towards the Antarctica Treaty, it would be west from New Zealand. Of course, there's a huge distance. I mean, come on, from New Zealand, you have to go in a straight line like that. And there's like other islands here. And then, of course, this is just like your typical island. It's an island which is frozen with lots of ice and snow. And Vostok is on the shores here. That's why the ships come on the frozen water. And and it's land and island and nothing else. People, because of not studying and not researching, they transform this into religions and to mythology and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's the world map with the continents and the weathers and the seasons and the snow and the ice and the moon and the sun and and everything else. So I thanks a lot to Vibes of Cosmos for explaining. And there we go, Vostok Station in Antarctica. I've never seen. These are the only awesome photos. Like all the other photos that they show us of Antarctica are just marketing and like public relations and stuff, what we see on, especially on Western media. But in this documentary made by the Russians, truly fascinating, never before seen, and haven't seen anything else like it afterwards. So thumbs up for the Russians in this case. See you in the next video.